I see you everywhere. Yeah, I see you where I'm supposed to be. How are you?
I was here with your wife.
Good to see you.
Oh, what? Oh, yeah, just, I mean, whatever time you are.
Okay. Officially. That's about how my brain feels right now. Yes.
Okay.
It would be.
No. Well, I mean, yeah, we do have an agenda, but I don't have a copy of it.
I have copies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it in the wrong?
Yeah, Mike, you look awful pretty.
Mike.
You're in the wrong spot.
No, we'll switch. I'm just moving. So there.
Now I know who you are.
Don't call me Mike.
What's that name?
But you can call me Nancy.
You're welcome. Were you asking me?
So you said you had my grade.
In Nancy.
Yes, please. How many pens do you guys think? I got mine. 1, 2. Do you have 2 pens? An extra pen? I'm sorry. Sure. Does it determine what we're gonna do?
Some of us had more ink in mine. You worked your care. I will take care of it. Y'all don't mind if we start 1 minute early, do you? Please bow your head with me. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for people that really do care about this school district. Thank you for the students. Thank you for the start of the school year, and that you have taken care of us today. And I know that you will be there to take care of us tomorrow. Father, I ask you to bless this time we have together. May it be a time where we learn from each other, that we learn to share, that we learn to come to our disagreements, come to our problems, and come to solutions that bring glory to your name. For that is the most important thing that we do here on earth, is bringing glory to your name. And I pray all of this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Please stand for the pledges.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one
thank you all for being here this evening and caring as much as you do about our school district. Tonight is a different format. This is a format that we put together so that when we do non-agenda items, we can actually have a discussion back and forth. We can find out not only what your questions are, what your grievances are, what your problems are, but learn a little bit more about how we look at the situations that you're wanting to bring forward to us. Also, it also allows us to ask questions to get more clarification on how you're feeling about the particular items that you're talking about. So, the format is going to be the same as we've had the last 2 times, and I thank all of you for being here today. We will have each person who has signed up come up and they sit here and they give us 3 minutes of what they want to say. And then we can ask questions, we can answer questions, go back and forth, and then the person who is talking gets another 3 minutes. And so that's the way the back and forth goes. And then we go to the next person. All right? Same format that we've done for the last 2 times. The first person up today is going to be Charles Beard.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, citizens, and everybody that's on the board.
Do we have that mic on?
Testing. Oh.
No.
Need to be turned on? No, it went off.
There
There
we
we
go. Okay, try again. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of the board, and Granbury citizens. I want to thank you for allowing me to come here today to be able to explain a distraught that I have. As everybody knows, I ran for city council in 2023. I'm very straightforward. I don't sugarcoat things. I accept responsibility for everything, and I put it out on the table. And if anybody has a question with it, I'd be glad to state it. So with knowing that, I've been a substitute teacher since 2016. I have high recommendations from every city district that I've ever been in. I've never had any problems with this school district. I've had a multitude of teachers asking me to do substitute, even asking me to do full-time substitutions. In May of 23, I was asked if I was going to come back in 23-24 school year, which I replied, yes, I will. In June of June 6th, I believe, I'm not accurate with all the records, but June 6th, I was medevaced out. I had a 450-pound piece of metal fell on me while working with a Christian organization trying to help them out. And I was medevaced out. When I came back, I was really in pretty bad shape. We sent a letter to the school board, or to the school district, explaining that I was going to be out probably till about October. As you know, I did enter the race. Nothing really happened till October anyway. Come October 1st, I went in to look at my application aspect, which is an app, not the application, seeing what jobs is available. I was able to do that. Didn't think anything of it. Went on through I figured I'd wait till after the election and go on. Well, we had a runoff, December 9th election. So after the holidays, I come back and I find out after talking to I can't go back online because I can't get in. My password's not working, nothing else. They said you were released on October 13th for no information provided as far as any whereabouts of where you're at. And we did not have the correct phone number or whatever. I said everybody in the city of Granbury knew my number. Everybody knows my email. Everybody knows practically where I live. There was no excuse for that. They said they are not required to contact us in any way, shape, or form. That, in my opinion, is a leadership number 1 mistake. Moving on, I asked to talk to I asked to talk who was in charge. And as I was talking to the person in charge, they said they had nothing to do with it. It was done. It was out of their hands. I said, well, I'd like to file a grievance. So the human resources director did contact me and say, hey, you were not fired by a human being. You were fired by a computer. So I said, well, if I was fired by a computer, what was it for? Because we never received any contact information of why if you were coming back. So I said, well, that's not true. And I said, well, I'll just go ahead and reapply and get my job back. Well, you can, but it's not a guarantee. That was a red flag. So then I contact I come back in. I try to work with as many people as I could. Try to do things at the lowest level because that's what I do in the military. And then I file a grievance against the same individual. And in the process, I get an email back stating that you can't do it
Okay.
by him.
Okay. I actually, since you had written the card, I appreciate all the information you gave me. So I ended up going and talking with our head of HR to get a little more information ahead of time so that I could be able to answer you.
Yes, ma'am.
So, yes, the way that the policy is stated is if you go a semester without working 15 days, then the computer does just push you out. And so that's what happened.
I had no complaint with that.
So what you can do, so it's out. If you were to go tomorrow, you could apply.
I did.
And you should be in that.
When I went, am I able to speak? I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead. This is the back and forth time.
When I went into the system, it said applied, meaning I could not get into the system. I was still in the system as being hired. I contacted the secretary, who they told me to talk to. That was resolved the next day. All of a sudden it went away, which is good.
Right.
And I immediately that day applied.
Uh-huh.
Then I went in when I
And we're
tried
talking
to...
like yesterday? I
No,
wanna
we're
make sure
talking about the
okay.
day after. We're talking like immediately went in, tried to apply, reapply, then told I can't reapply because the admin section says I'm still hired. Then when I send that into them and they said, okay, well, we'll correct that situation, then I did reapply. But then I got this notice from the same individual saying they're no longer hiring for the remainder of the year, nor are they hiring for the following year.
We're talking about last year then?
This past year, yeah,
Okay.
back in May.
I went and looked, and you can apply today.
I already applied, ma'am.
Okay.
They
so-
erased it. After I had already applied, it just disappeared.
No. I'm talking about for this year. Last year's over. For this year. If you go in and apply now, you can be a sub now.
So even though I did it 2 months ago, for this year, there's a difference.
2 months ago?
Yeah, it was only a few months ago. May, June, July, like 3 months, sorry.
Okay, that would have been for last year.
It was for 23-24 school year.
Okay. So now we're in the 24-25 year. So you need to
But
reapply for this year.
I applied in that year. Okay, correct me. I did apply for 24-25 school year.
Okay.
Because in June, that's when the school started.
Mhm.
That's why I applied to come up for that position.
Okay.
But what happened was I went in to try to reapply a second time because it automatically disappeared. Everything I put in there disappeared. I reapplied and it went away. And then I tried to look back in there and I looked to go see if the hiring process, and it says we're not hiring until the end of 2024.
Okay. I want you to give me a call tomorrow, and we're going to figure this out, because I talked with Mr. Jones today, and he said he could apply now. So I'm not understanding why it's not working. So we will figure this out.
It was not only was it done, but I was not even afforded the opportunity when I went back in to try to do it. He put it out there. When you go in and look online, it says not even taking applications until 2024, and at the end. So that was incorrect at the time. So I don't know what's going on, and I'm not here to judge. I'm here to solve.
Sure.
Okay, I work things out at the lowest level. I respect everybody. Mm-hmm. I sent every one of you an email regarding this. I sent everyone with the board of the entire school district administration staff an email regarding what I'm telling you. I sent it to the superintendent. Only 2 individuals contacted me, Melanie and Miss Lori back.
Well, there's a reason for that. Let me explain that for you. If we had answered you, if we had talked about it, and if you had sent in a grievance and had gotten to level 3, anyone who had discussed it with you would not have been able to be on the board to discuss the level 3. So Melanie and Karen would have had to have excused themselves because they had already gotten advance notice of what was going on. So that was why we did not answer you back. I remember getting it, and I was under the understanding you filed a level 1 grievance, and you were working through the system that way. So if we had ended up getting involved in that, then you would have never been able to get to a level 3.
Yeah, I just felt it really appalling and disrespectful to me. I mean, I've served my country, and I told him straightforward, I'm on Social Security disability, I'm on VA disability. They knew that when they hired me. They also know that I do everything I can to help. I'm the team player as much as possible. I have nothing but the highest respect for teachers, no matter whether they turned on me or not, during the election. But, some of them, we're all humans, right? I said things to you guys, and I'll formally apologize because I was mad. I basically, I'll sue you, do whatever there. I'll be the first one to admit it. I'm human. I make mistakes. Okay? So I'll put it out there on the table. But at the same aspect of it is, I felt betrayed, and I felt belittled, and I felt like this gentleman did not even care. I walked into his office directly in front of him to try to work it out, and he told me point blank, I'm not hiring you back the rest of this year. And I said, well, I'll just go ahead and reply. He goes, well, you can, but you're not going to be guaranteed a job.
Well, I'm telling you now that we will figure it out, because I was told point blank today that you are welcome to apply for the 24-25 school year, which is what we are in right now. So give me a call tomorrow. If you don't have my number,
I'll go on tonight and reapply, and I'll also give you a call tomorrow.
If you have a problem with it, just give a call to the school district. They will give you my phone number, and we will work it out. I promise you that.
I appreciate the cooperation, and I appreciate you at least affording me the opportunity to speak.
Well, I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Jim Jarrett.
I promise we're not going through this.
I'm glad, 'cause you only get 3 minutes. By the way, before we even get started, I ended up listening. I know that what we're talking about is the HCAD situation. I ended up getting online and listening to the portion of your city council meeting that had to do with it. It was very informative, and I've put out some questions as well.
Great.
Concerning that. So go right ahead.
Yeah, I think Mr. Law I think he did. I apologize later for the 2 hours that he stood there, but yeah, it was great. But this is a continuation. So sorry that you've already seen the 2 hours, but a couple of things have come up. My request is that the school board disapprove the appraisal district budget by about $500,000, and it's all in salaries. I mean, that's what they have extra. Last 5 years in a row, they have not spent anywhere from $3 to $500, or $3 to almost $1 million of the budget that was given to them. That's money from our taxpayers' pocket over here. We give it to them. So I have 2 reasons for wanting the dissolution or disapproval of that budget. One is because that they really don't need the $500,000. If you go one county west, they do a parcel, which is the unit of work for appraisal district, for $31. We charge $41, and that's taking out our collections cost. ERAT doesn't do collections; they just do appraisal. Appraisal to appraisal, as clean as it can be, $31 versus or $30 versus $41, and it's all in salaries. They have $1 million in salary. We have 1.6. They have 17 people. We have 21. It doesn't make sense. And the good news is, on the conversation with Mr. Law, he said in 2021, the board of directors made a decision that they wanted to look into the possibilities of building a new building. That process started happening. Now the mayor and I agree on one thing, and that is that the appraisal district over that period of time did not go out and get the proper approval that they needed to build a building. Of course, the appraisal district didn't build any building. That process never happened. But we both agree that there's a specific process within the code of how that approval must come about, and we agree that that didn't happen. With that understanding, there was still $400,000 that's been spent. that $400,000 needs to be disapproved or needs to be audited via a forensic audit. With the forensic audit and the results that come back, we probably are in very good shape now with this comment to file an errors and omissions claim so that we get that money back into the taxpayers' hands in Hood County. Now, one other thing has happened in the last 3 weeks. The audit for the for the HCAD has come through. They have a new accounting firm. The new firm had to realign and reassess, repost over $1 million because of money that was spent prior to 2018 in the retirement account, which is also it now needs to be audited as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We received the approved budget to look at today at 3 p.m. And I do understand that we have to either, if we do nothing, we accept it as of the 13th, I believe.
Right.
And our next board meeting is the 16th. So Emmett Whitefield and I got together today, and we are looking through that approved budget. My problem with the resolution that was brought to us before is the fact that it was needing a blank check. And we are so tight this year. If it were $100,000 and we do 62%, that's one teacher's salary for a year. I'm not ready to get rid of a teacher. And I don't have $62,000 in fluff. So that's where my problem comes in. I would love for them to have done an RFQ.
Yes.
And they still haven't done an RFQ. And I spoke with Mr. Rodriguez today about the fact that they need to do an RFQ. So I understand your reasoning for wanting it to be disapproved. And that is something that our board is going to look into. But considering that we just got it today, we really haven't had a chance to go through it correctly. Would you say I'm correct, Mr. Whitefield? So I am taking, after seeing the 2 hours, 2 hours plus.
3 minutes, yeah.
Wow. It did bring up a lot of questions. And I understand a lot better where you're coming from. And yes, we will discuss it.
And I appreciate that. And the 2 hours was, let me give credit to Mr. Law again, because I thought he was upfront, he was very informative.
Well
it was, yeah, and the council, I thought they were, we had a good, deep discussion. I think it needed to happen, which is why I believe we also need a good, deep audit, which is a forensic audit. I mean, a couple of years ago, things appeared to have gone off the rails with the appraisal district. All of a sudden, they started increasing their cost or increasing their budget anywhere from 3 to 5%. Other counties are holding theirs flat. They're 3 to 5% up. And it was to build this pile of money so that they could go out and buy an appraisal building, which there's approval process, and everybody now is acknowledging we didn't go through the approval process. But also during that period of time, they fell off in just the things that they need to do from a controller standpoint. The controller gives them a methods and assistance program report every 2 years, 21, 23, 25. 21, there are 4 columns. There's governance, taxpayer assistance, operating procedures, appraisal standards and procedures. They got meets, and meets. 23 comes along. The first, the preliminary methods evaluation, governance, needs significant improvement. Taxpayer assistance, unsatisfactory. Operating procedures, unsatisfactory. And appraisal standards, procedures, and methodologies meets. They got the needs significant improvement up to a meets. The unsatisfactories up to needs significant improvement for the 2023 final. But that those processes and procedures are also evaluated during a forensic audit.
I think. So
And I
don't
agree
go
with you
too
on the
far.
cost.
Yeah.
It's-
So what I would like
Yeah.
to see is, we really need to be talking to each other.
Mhm.
And so far, we haven't been doing that. So I've told Eddie what I think they need to do. I think we need to look at it. We need to have more discussions like this, not necessarily in front of a bunch of people that are going to fall asleep here in a minute. But I agree with where you're going. And I think watching that video was very helpful to me, and we need to have more discussions.
I will be open to the call, or I'll call you, whichever.
Sounds good.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you all. We appreciate it.
Next up, we have Mark Lowry.
Thank you for your interaction with the mayor there. That's very helpful. Very helpful. We attended that meeting. It was very helpful. I was hoping Superintendent Glenn was here this evening. Would you please pass my words to him? Because I sincerely have some words of encouragement. Hope that he does do well up there. And I'm going to speak as if he was here. Superintendent Jeremy Glenn, I wish you and your family good favor with your next assignment at South Lake Carroll, and I'm sincere about that. Hopefully you have humbly learned everything over the past 2 years at Granbury. It should not have been this way. If only he had been a leader and accepted Karen on the board and appreciated her efforts and tried not to discredit her, silence her, and embarrass her, it could have been a different for Mr. Glenn, GISD, and Karen. And unfortunately, the past two presidents of the board carried his torch on behavior, such as that behavior. I forgive him. I will take some time to forget the experience I've had with him, but I do wish him well. It should not have been this way. To the board, I have some thoughts and questions. Hopefully you will conduct a quality due diligence investigation on the next viable candidates to avoid matters that we have experienced. I recommend the due diligence also include a social media investigation. This can cost you about $900, but it's well worth the investment. Secondly, during the bond campaign, you drew attention to the following: the air conditioner that needed replaced, a significant roof leak in the high school, and a plumbing issue in an elementary school. Have these needs been remedied?
I'll let you finish then.
Third, please bring some clarity to the following oxymoron. At every board meeting, you sing the praises of having a fund balance. I believe this budget cycle is predicted at $24 million. I understand from your statements that this is a recommendation, not a requirement, to have this fund balance. You emphasize how ISDs are working with the deficit budget and again brag about the GISD fund balance and balanced budget. Turning the page at the board meetings, at each board meeting you talk about critical needs and the lack of money to address the needs. You just mentioned that, teachers. It appears you prioritize the fund balance over other reportedly critical needs. How can you prioritize increasing the fund balance while the needs of the district go unresolved? In conclusion, there's a large amount of taxpayers' money sitting in the HCAD that should be returned to ISD. Additionally, from early investigation findings, taxpayers' money may have been misappropriated and/or fraud may have occurred. Why do you not make every effort, and you say you will now, to get taxpayers' money back where it can be used for the betterment of the school district? I find this HCAD issue by GSD failure to issue their either fiscal irresponsibility or an attempt to cover up something more nefarious. 62% of $400,000 is $248,000, which is 4 teachers. If you spend $62,000 of $100,000 for the audit and lose 1 teacher, but if, as Mr. Mayor just pointed out, you can recover 62% of $400,000 or more, that equates 4 teachers. It makes absolutely no sense not to look into this issue and try to recoup the money that's out there. Quite honestly, from my experience, looks pretty bad and probably misappropriated, if not worse.
Okay, so you mentioned quite a few different things, so let me see if I can get back to them. Mr. Whitefield, how many air conditioners have we replaced in the last 2 years? 82 air conditioners have been replaced. How many air conditioners do we have?
Upwards of between 400 and 500. There's 150 on top of the high school alone.
We have between 400 and 500, and 150 of them are on top of the high school. I'm just repeating what you said, so we have it in the.
Let me ask a question. During the bond campaign,
Yes.
specifically, one was addressed as being extremely bad and needed replaced.
Yes.
I know you have a lot of them, but was that one replaced?
No. What's going on that particular one is that is on top of the high school. Now, the way it works is it was a poor design the way it was designed, okay? And you go up there, and if I say this improperly, say something, Mr. Whitefield. It actually goes into a valley. The air conditioner is in a valley. When we end up with some of our gully washers, it ends up getting filled, and that's what it comes through. If you have a 1 to 2 inch rain, it's no problem. So just changing the air conditioner on that particular one isn't going to fix it. We actually have to reconfigure the way that the roof is on that time. To the point that, am I correct that you have to step down into that area?
Yes, ma'am.
So that is why that's a problem.
Okay.
So it is a bad design up on there. So it's going to take more than just new air conditioning.
Okay. Years before, when I was a young man, I was a roofer, and I understand completely what you're talking about, valleys and peaks and the problem with the gully washers and impacting that air conditioner. Have we got estimates to replace, to fix, to restructure that roof and repair that air conditioner that was so bad? Have we got estimates on that?
No, we do not.
Okay.
Because that is, it's one of those things that until we know that we're going to have the funds to do it. Let me go back to something else you said too. As far as fund balance is concerned, and make sure that I say this right, we have to have 20% of the school year.
TA recommends 25%.
Okay. Words.
Dictated by board policy is 20%.
Okay. Words matter. Recommends 20%, not requires 20%.
Board policy.
Board policy, which can be changed in the independent school district, if I'm correct, could be changed. Recommended 20, board policy is 20%. Correct? It's
Yes.
board policy 20%. It's not TASB or TEA or State School of Education 20%. So my point is this. If you got 24 million, I think 2 years ago it was 26 million. You took $1 million out to fix the AstroTurf, $1.2 million. If we knew how much that roof restructuring or re-engineering and the air conditioner, that was a hot topic during the May bond election, and I understand you need repairs. How much is it going to cost to fix that dilemma? And if we have 4 million over the 20 million, then 20% actually of 93 million is 18.6 million. You see where I'm going with this? Listen, I had 2 air conditioners broke down 2 weeks ago, and I was on an assignment. I could have come home and put my money in the bank, savings, but I had to make a decision. My wife wanted air conditioner, as did I. If you've got a structural need and an air conditioner that's catastrophic or approaching that, and we got $5 million sitting there, but honestly, we don't even know how much it's going to cost to fix it. Go ahead, the next one.
We don't know how much it's going to cost to fix it. It's only a problem when we have a 4-inch gully washer. There are other things that we need to be looking at. I understand where you're coming from. Given that 80% of the school districts right now are having to use their fund balance, things happen. I mean, the new insurance that we have, we now have a much, much higher deductible than we've ever had before. What was it?
I think it raised to 25% as our premium, right?
The premium went up 25%. Our deductible went from $50,000 to $100,000 per occurrence.
So 50,000 to 100,000, you can get to that pretty darn quick when you're looking at that.
Okay, let me ask.
I understand what you're saying, yes. And there are things that we are going to be, we ended up putting this last time, what was it, 750,000 into committed. Now, when we put it into committed, what that meant was.
I understand.
We're putting it into committed. Well, you know what we're gonna do with that 750? As soon as the new school year starts, which is September 1, because that's our fiscal year, okay? We're gonna go out and buy buses. Right?
Well, and I understand you need buses. I'm not sure I'm getting my point across. I don't think I'm getting my point across. You can't budget to fix something if you don't know how much it's going to cost
Correct.
to fix it. And I get it, 84% of your salary is wages. I know you've got what's called discretionary spending. I've dealt with that in my past. But when you brag, rightfully so, that you work under a balanced budget, I think your last board meeting you said 60% of school districts are in deficit budgets.
Correct.
So we're in a very good place. And then we also brag about 24 million in the fund balance. I'm not sure what the fund balance can use for. You mentioned insurance. I think, okay, if you have an elementary school destroyed by a tornado, that would be it. But do we have insurance that covers replacement costs? And do we have insurance that covers rental of another facility while the students are waiting for that new? If we have insurance to cover it, so then what would the next be? I think, okay, a Great Depression. 10, 15, 20% unemployment rate. If we have that in the community, we're not getting the taxes that we get every year. That could be the reason for the fund balance. Nobody's really explained to me, Mr. Law tried to do it the other night at the city, what fund balance could be used for. Can anybody tell me what a fund balance would be used for besides a catastrophic insurance issue? And we should have insurance that covers most of that, if not all of it. A Great Depression, which would justify not building more properties, because if we can't, if we have a Great Depression, we're in trouble because we're not getting the taxpayers' money coming in. If we lose 10% unemployment in this county, it's going to be devastating to you guys. So I threw a lot out there. I'm sorry. Fund balance, help me with that.
Emmett, you want to say some things?
Yes, ma'am.
You want to come up here and take this from me? And then we're going to need to move on to the next person.
So school funding is funded in the first quarter of the year. So when I get to August, September, October, November, I got $0 coming in. TEA recommends 25% fund balance of your operating. Board policy dictates 20%. So if I spend my fund balance down, I have $0 to operate for 4 months. No salaries, no electricity, no utilities. That's what the fund balance is set up there for.
Okay, well, I do know you have late taxes coming in. You talked about that in the fall last year about people that hadn't paid their taxes yet. And that was coming in. And I'm not saying drop the fund balance down to 0. I'm saying if your 24 million is recommended to be at 20%, and that's 18.6 million. My point is, it's the flip of the coin. In 1 minute, we're saying we don't have enough money to meet critical needs. And next moment, we're saying we got a balanced budget. And we've got this $24 million fund balance. We've talked about it enough. I just think that I call it an oxymoron to me. It seems odd that you can't have it both ways. You can't be strapped for cash and have this great savings account.
Well, listen again to what he said. So
Yeah,
you're talking about a quarter of the school year, we're not getting any money in.
A quarter of the school year is when we receive the majority of our funding. The rest of the school year is trickling in. So between December, January, February, maybe even March, that's the bulk of our funding. Past that, we don't receive all that funding yet from local taxes.
But you don't get a reduction in tax. Your taxes are set what they are. In other words, the appraisal district sets our appraised values, which is another can of worms I'd like to speak to you someday about. And you get all that money. If they don't pay it by the first quarter, it's not like, well, you don't get it. You get all the tax dollars coming to you. You just now have to manage it over 4 quarters so that you don't run out in the fourth quarter.
Exactly. And
Okay.
that's what the fund balance is for.
All right. I would highly recommend you sit down with Mayor Jarrett and really go over this HCAD. There's
Okay, we've already gotten that one. So
All
let's
right.
go on to the next person.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Please tell Superintendent I wished him the best.
I will absolutely. Thank you.
Jim Brown.
All righty. Board, thank you. My name is Jim Brown. Let me just read through this. One statement I want to make is I, too, went to the HCAD board meeting where they approved their budget. I, too, listened in for 3 hours, Mayor Jarrett, on the city council meeting, and I, too, have questions. The amazing thing is they're the same questions that you're going to get that you've already been posed. But here we go. And this is on my own. I actually did my own research, and here's what I'm coming up with. Here we go. I would like to ask that the board take action to do a forensic audit of the HCAD and not approve their 2025 budget for HCAD. I have attended last HCAD meeting and city council meeting to gather more information, and more questions keep coming up. Oh, and I'm speaking as a concerned citizen for Granbury. Over the prior 6 years, from 2018, based on my research, to 2023, $2.8 million in excess funds were available to give back to the 11 taxing entities. After the city council, nearly 3 years, asked for these funds to be given back, $1.9 million was given back, and we remember that with the school board, $1 million was given back to the 11 taxing entities. However, the remaining $900,000, based on my numbers, was recaptured by HCAD and spent on pension plans, in approximate $500,000, give or take, and an architectural expense of nearly $400,000 for a building that never happened. Why was nearly $900,000 not given back to the 11 taxing entities? Why was $400,000 spent on architectural expenses? Since GISD is appointing 3, again, my understanding, 3 of the now 5 board members, a majority, to HCAD, why would the HCAD board not give the excess revenue back to the 11 taxing entities for which GISD is 66%? So I'm trying to get money for GISD. That's over $500,000. Now, my second point is HCAD has had track record of for those 6 years, 2018, 2023. Looks like they're on track for getting an excess this year in 2024 in the budget. Has already adopted that I am asking GISD to disallow the board to disallow the budget and refigure at a lower expense. Now, the amazing thing is I crossed out $500,000. So, wow. Okay, so it ends up a year closer to, so that it ends up at zero. I mean, because you can always refund the appraisal district towards the end of the year if needed. Oh, wow. Can I please continue?
Go ahead.
Get 1 minute. I'm in it. We elected the school board members in good faith that you would watch over how you spend our money, and as 66% of HCAD, that you should watch what HCAD is doing with its funds. For reasons of transparency and to regain the trust of the community at large, I again ask that the board demand a forensic audit of HCAD back to 2018 and join the city council, the city manager, Chris Kaufman, and our mayor, Jim Jarrett, and the county commissioner's court in demanding a forensic audit. Lastly, that you would disallow the HCAD budget for 2025, of which I just can't believe you just now got that budget, because I was in an HCAD meeting a week or so ago. I mean, how did it take so long?
Question.
There's another question. So I'm done. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for that extra little second. I appreciate it.
I don't think there's anything I need to add at this point. Do you agree?
Well, I have to agree to the point that I believe that this board has the ability. It just needs a little bit more shepherding on where the money's going. We got a $94 million budget. I can't go into a different issue because I'm only talking about this. But I'm just asking, please, as a concerned citizen, I'm not here to rail. I'm not here to get after anybody. I'm just saying I really would like, and I believe that you guys can do a better. I believe the money's there. That's all.
Okay,
Are we
thank you,
good?
sir.
Thank you.
Next up, is it Jackie or JC?
It's Jackie, but everything's been covered, so I'm gonna yield.
Thank you. And it's Jackie Lopez.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And last, no, it's not last. I apologize. Todd Daniel?
Hi.
Hello.
I think we have an opportunity to change things back for the better. While our grifter superintendent is over there getting the big bucks in Carroll tonight, I think his salary could also, because you're not going to have one till January, his salary could definitely cover some of those teacher salaries as well.
We'll have an interim.
But anyway, pardon?
We'll have an interim that we're paying.
This is my time. So anyway, 3 minutes a quarter is not good enough. Obviously, you even mentioned to the mayor that we need more dialogue. We need more dialogue, right? But you're not giving it. And this meeting is against the Texas Open Meetings Act. You guys had a cute plan back in December 11th of 2023. You say to better serve the student, staff, and community beginning December 11th to move this to and call it it's a special meeting. It doesn't even mention the time on your website of the meeting. It has no agenda. I mean, you wrote this, it says agenda, but there's nothing on it because it's us speaking. Basically, you're taking people's right to redress their government and tell you about problems that they're facing. There's a lot of these things that have been percolating, and people, I know you don't want to hear about bestiality in school facilities, and I know you don't want to hear about students that are stuck on buses till 6:30, 7:30 at night. I know you don't want to hear those things. Those are icky, right? But that's what your job is, okay? You're violating the Open Meetings Act. This whole thing is a farce. 3 minutes a quarter. Are you serious? Are you serious? These people come here to tell you about issues that they have for 3 minutes, right? And you even admit it. More dialogue is needed. I think you need to go back to the way other districts do it. Allow people to come to meetings and speak when they're poignant and they're timely, not on a quarterly basis. You even go to TASB meetings to brag about this scheme that you have to violate the Texas Open Meetings Act in order to silence people from speaking to you. You go and brag. You use district resources to go over there and play with your TASB buddies and brag about a scheme that the grifter Glenn came up with. But what are you going to do with his money? You've got till January. He leaves us high and dry at the first of a school year, right? High and dry at the first of the school year. What are you going to do with his salary? I know you're going to have an interim, but they shouldn't get the same salary as a full-time superintendent that's contracted. What is going to happen with that money? What's going to happen with his salary money? Why didn't that apply to air conditioners? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Can I talk now?
Well, first of all, yeah, you can. You can talk.
You.
You're the board president.
I tried to, and you told me to wait till your 3 minutes were over.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we do have an interim. The interim salary matches whatever
Wait, I don't understand.
an interim superintendent.
You do have an interim.
Yes, we do have an interim.
When was that voted on?
superintendent. It was voted in the last meeting.
I didn't see anything about it in the last meeting. It wasn't on the agenda.
It was on the agenda.
There
Yes,
was-
sir, it was. Yes, sir, it was.
Well,
And we voted on it.
Did all the trustees know who the people were? Who
The
voted?
interim superintendent was discussed in closed session, so they would know everything about it.
Yeah, but it has to be voted on in an open
And it was
session.
voted on in open session.
What did you vote?
We all voted unanimously
For who?
to adopt our interim superintendent.
Who's the interim superintendent?
We will announce after I know that Dr. Glenn has been announced in
Well, that doesn't make much sense. That doesn't make much sense. You can't vote. You can't vote to have someone if you're holding out for your superintendent that left you high and dry. You know, that's kind of like we're just still in limbo here. So you didn't vote on anything really,
Yes,
and you didn't
we
tell
did.
anybody. You didn't notify anybody in the public who the candidates were or any of that.
No, we don't.
Why?
It was a personnel issue. We don't go around
You don't think
telling
you
everybody.
don't.
We don't, when we get a new president or principal, we don't go around saying, well, these are the 3-4 people that we're looking at.
Yes, they do. That
No, we don't.
Other districts announce their candidates. Did you announce a search firm or anything?
We have not gotten a search firm yet.
So I didn't see anything about.
Well, I'm sorry you didn't, but it was there.
Okay.
It was in the.
It sounds like a walking quorum thing to me, but go ahead.
No, it was not a walking forum. It was a subcommittee of 3
Subcommittee.
that looked at all the different candidates that came about, and then we brought.
There was a subcommittee in executive session, is what you're telling me, or?
It was a subcommittee over the 3 weeks beforehand that looked at different candidates and then came up with a recommendation.
Who chose
that
the
they brought.
subcommittee?
The president of the board chooses the subcommittee. It's in our board.
How many members are on the
operating procedure.
subcommittee?
3 are on the subcommittee. I'm answering your question.
How are they comprised, and what are their criteria and litmus for being chosen?
They're on board.
They're just crony like this board. The board president just gets to pick.
Okay.
I think we're done,
If
Mr.
you-
Daniels.
I think I've
Yeah.
answered your questions, and I'm sorry
It's
that
just
you're
too hard.
What about 3 minutes a quarter? What about 3 minutes a quarter? You haven't answered anything
We've
about.
been going back and forth for 5.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you're violating Open Meetings Act of the state of
And I do
Texas.
not agree.
Well, I'm telling you also that you're posting on this agenda. This agenda is not appropriate. We have to be able to understand what's spoken about. This is a special meeting, is what you're calling it,
It's
right?
a special meeting.
Yeah. Well,
so that-
those require agendas. Those require agendas by the state, by state law.
There is your agenda.
There's nothing on here.
This is
We're not an agenda. Okay, we're done.
We're done.
Thank
Okay.
you, Mr.
All right.
Daniels.
All right.
And the last person is Carrie Raymeyer. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Carrie Raymeyer?
She's not here.
All right. Then I have, the time is
Why is it audio only, by the way?
6:48, and I call this meeting to be adjourned. Thank you all for being here.